Hey everybody, welcome to our full card predictions for UFC Fight Night. Brendan versus Chris Curtis 2. It's the rematch. Not gonna lie here, it's not the greatest card, but hey, it's a week before UFC 300, so they got to put out a shit card to make UFC 300 look that much better. That being said, let's break it down. First fight of the night, we've got Melissa Mullins coming in at minus 334 versus Nora Cornolle, or Nora Cornolle coming back at plus 250. The whole world is very big on Melissa Mullins. She's a strong girl, athletic, likes to take you down, pound you out. And you know what? She's 6-0. She probably will bully Nora here, but Nora's not a terrible fighter. She's a pretty good striker. Um, for me, it's just a pass. If it wasn't minus 334 on a women's prospect, I would probably bet it. But at minus 334 on a prospect in women's MMA, I can't get there. What do you think?
Nora reminds me of poor woman's Jessica Andrade. Comes at you with ill intention, just winging hooks, looking for the knockout. Some bad things about her first fight that I watched with Jocelyn Edwards is that she got taken down 5 times by Jocelyn Edwards, which isn't a good look. Um, the gas tank didn't look so good at the end there, and if Melissa Mullins is or Melissa Dixon or whatever you want to call her, her last 2 fights, one against Alexiva. Uh, Close fight. Alexiva had her moments, got dropped in that fight. She did, but she fought back, so she fought through adversity in her first fight. First fight in the UFC though, so I chalked that up to kind of jitters. So she didn't look too bad, but she didn't look too good. Fight right before that was against Daria, who we saw a couple weeks ago. Squeak out a decision of her own, but that was another powerful striker, and she took a lot of beating again, worked through adversity, and took her down, and beat her up. Problem is her takedowns aren't great, but I don't think they have to be great here. And she probably does use the ground game. I think that's the equalizer here. 334, it's a pass. She seems pretty safe, because the grappler versus the striker, and the other girl hasn't shown a good gas tank or good takedown defense. So I'm gonna side with Dixon, but I'm not. I probably won't bet it.
All right, moving on. We got two relatively unknown guys here. We got the minus 150 favorite, Dylan Budka. He's a very boring wrestler. Watched a few of his fights. Looks very vanilla. Looks very fucking boring. I mean, actually, I shouldn't say very. I like vanilla ice cream, but I just like this guy's fucking boring, man. He doesn't really do anything. He's not flashy. He's not great. He's not a finisher. He's nothing. He's I guess your classic grinder, but I don't think he's going to be some special grinder anyway. So that's what he is. I'm kind of surprised he's the favorite. And then you got your plus 125 underdog, Cesar Almeida. He's a striker. Not a lot of MMA experience, but he does have a ton of kickboxing experience. He's actually fought Alex Pereira in kickboxing 3 times. He's 1-2, and all 3 fights went the distance. So obviously, he must be a decent enough striker or a decent enough chin. So fuck it. I'm gonna take the underdog, Cesar Almeida. Am I gonna really be betting on it? Maybe not. I don't know. They're very unknown fighters. I never go big on unknown guys, but I probably will sprinkle Cesar Almeida for the underdog pick. What do you think?
I like Caesar too. In his Dana White contender series fight, he did get taken down 3 times, but he found his way up. He outstruck the guy 3-1. He's also defended 6 or 7 takedowns himself and didn't get taken down. The takedowns were a little different than Dylan Budka. Budka does like this double power leg in the middle of the ring, and middle of the octagon, sorry, and kind of like just powers right through you. So it's going to be a little bit of a different look for Caesar, even though he showed decent takedown defense. His takedown defense is really going to be like Dylan's going to try it here. He's going to go for that. That's his path to victory, right? So that he's going to really test it. And Caesar, as of now, I know he's very raw, and I don't know if I'll sprinkle it either, but he's shown that he can get up, and he's shown that he can defend takedowns. I mean, I don't rate Dylan Budka's wrestling like any elite sort of type wrestling either, right? I was looking at it. It's okay. It's not bad, but it's not great, right? So it's not. I wouldn't say that you can get him down for sure. He might get him down once or twice, but I feel like Caesar gets up. He got up before in his first Dana White Contender Series fight, so I feel like he's gonna get up again. So, and on the feet, I think it's a wash. I think Caesar has him like 3-4 to 1, even if it gets that far. But I pick him by KO actually. I think he's gonna knock him out. So Caesar by knockout.
That's what I'm hoping for. All right, moving on. We got the minus 188 favorite, John Matsumoto, mostly known for submissions. He's kind of a grappler here versus plus 162 powerhouse wrestler, Dan Argueta grappler, sorry. So you kind of got a grappler versus grappler here. I think if Argueta gets on the bottom or like if somehow Matsumoto gets the better of the wrestling or scrambles, then Argueta's probably in trouble. But he's kind of the master of scrambles. Like he's a very, very good wrestler, sets a frantic pace. And if he can be the one getting on top, which I think he can, he has a very live shot at pulling off the upset here. Um, yeah, I think he's another live underdog. I think he's going to be the stronger guy. He's not as dangerous with the submissions, maybe, but I think he might be able to control the scrambles. What do you think?
So Makamono or whatever his name is, he fought a sort of same sort of like wrestler in Contender Series, and he really showed that he could scramble up, showed that good striking volume, showed a well-rounded game. I know I read a few articles about Tanner saying that he wasn't 100% going into that fight, blah 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 blah. I take that with a grain of salt. It could be excuses, but Makamono showed a pretty good Dana White Contender Series fight, just showed well-roundedness. Argueta now, like he's not as well-rounded, right? So that's where the Lions. This is the issue here. His striking leaves a little bit to be desired. Ground game's pretty good, but once Miles in that last fight, Miles like pressured him and used his wrestling in reverse and kept that fight standing. Like the guy, he was lost. He couldn't do anything. So I think he's very live in the first round, but Makamono. I'm really torn on this fight. I've been flip-flopping, and the line movement's been crazy because Argueta opened up as a huge, just a little bit of a favorite, and now he's bet to the underdog, right? So, I mean, the line's completely flipped on this. So, I flip-flop between it. I see it for both sides. I'm signing with Matsumoto on this. He showed that he can defend a wrestler and throw up enough volume and use. Well, he's a BJJ black belt. He's a Muay Thai black belt. So, I think he can. I think he can stop Argueta. Maybe not that first round, but the second and third, I think he might be have a better gas tank. And the Miles Johns fight really rubs me bad for Argueta, but he is a good motor on him. But
And Miles Johns is a short, stocky brick shithouse. I don't think this guy's as strong as Miles Johns. He's probably a better fighter, better skills, but I don't know if he's gonna have the takedown defense and strength of Miles Johns.
it's tough, right? I mean, you're looking at a guy coming in his first fight versus a guy that's had the what three or four UFC fights. Fought Ronnie Lawrence. It was pretty much beating on him. He had a couple fights overturned. That Miles Johns fight got overturned for Adderall, I believe. So I
He
mean,
lost that.
yeah, he lost that fight, but he won that first round, I guess, if you want to really look at it, right? So I don't know. This is a tough fight. I'm gonna side with the favorite, but I don't have this one. I don't think I'm gonna bet this one.
All right, moving on to a women's MMA fight. We got the minus 160 favorite, Piera Rodriguez. She is a striker. She's kind of wild, but she should be the better striker here versus the plus 130, Cynthia Calvillo. The only way to describe her really is she's a tough, grinding veteran. She will be marching forward the whole time. She's not a bad striker. I can see her keeping it close on the feet. And if she can score a couple takedowns off of Piera being like reckless and wild, like there's no reason Calvillo doesn't have a chance in this fight. The problem with her is she always finds a way to lose. Like we've seen her quit on the stool. We've seen her just judges don't like her. Like even her losses, like she has a lot of close fights and a lot of her losses are to good fighters, but she just always loses. So I can't pick her. I got to side with the favorite, the younger, I think the better striker, Piera Rodriguez, but it wouldn't surprise me for this to be a very close fight. What do you think?
Well, if you go by like who's done what in their last five fights, you got 0-5 versus 4-1. But I'm not gonna wiki cap this one because I was hard on Pierre against Jillian. I thought she would be the better wrestler there, but I was wrong. I thought she would be the better striker, but never got anything going. I was looking back at her fights. The fights that she's won before that loss to Jillian, she was able to get her grappling going. And now I don't know if she can get her grappling going here. Cynthia Calvillo is an adamant wrestler. She's a pretty damn good wrestler. Coming out of Team Alpha Male, you got to be a pretty good wrestler. I mean, she's got damn near an 80% takedown defense. And in her last fight against Lupi, she fucking won. Okay, like she won that fight against Loopy. She outstruck her 104 to something. And so a striking that 104 already puts her above anything that Pierre has ever thrown. That fight that Pierre won, I can't remember who it was. She threw about 80 strikes. It was Sam Hughes. She threw about 80 strikes. Every one of the other two wins, Kay Hansen and Machado, they were just about 50 strikes, but she's able to get 3 takedowns and 5 against Hughes. I don't think that happens here. And it's weird. And I don't want to get screwed like the OSP versus Njeku and last week Weidman versus Silva saying these guys are washed. I know we always and it looks like they're washed, but you can't judge it like that. And I've learned that I got to go a little bit deeper on some of these. And just because she's 0-5, she's faced a way better competition. Um, Pierre really rubbed me the wrong way. How she let Jillian just own her. And if Calvillo is willing to push wrestling from the start and volume, I don't see how she can lose this. She's overall a better fighter than Piera Rodriguez. She's just not younger, and she might. And everyone thinks she's given up, but I'm
She
gonna.
gasses.
She gasses, I guess, but so does Piera Rodriguez. She gasses too. So I don't know. I think both can gas, like I guess, but like yeah, I'm taking the shot on Calvillo. I will
Yeah.
because I think I think this is like a women's model, just the close fight, take the underdog. So yeah, so Calvillo, I'm actually pretty strong on it. Like that, Calvillo, Jillian Robertson, sort of the same fighter, just not as good jiu-jitsu on the Calvillo side, but the wrestling is pretty good on both sides. You don't think she could take her down? Pierre Rodriguez looked like she was in La La Land on her back in that last fight. So she gets on the bottom of Calvillo. I don't know if she gets up.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, moving on. We got back-to-back women's MMA fights. We've got the minus 175 favorite, Norma Dumont, versus the plus 150 underdog and former champion, Jermaine Durandamy. This is wild odds here. Now, I know Jermaine's been completely inactive, but it's kind of disrespectful to her. I mean, she is a sniper on the feet. The problem is she is low volume. She is old. And she's been like completely out of it for like 3 years here. So I guess that makes sense. But still, at these odds, it's very tempting for me to say, hey, she's still the better striker. I think she is. Now, Norma absolutely can win this fight strictly off the fact that she will be the younger fighter who's always coming forward and throws more volume. So the volume and the pressure, absolutely on Norma Dumont's side. But the fact she couldn't fucking finish Chelsea Chandler, man, I don't know. I don't know how much respect everybody's given this girl here. I think Jermaine Durandamy throws the harder shots, the cleaner, way straighter shots. It's all comes down to just how she's going to look. I don't know how she, like I said, 3 years off, absolutely red flag. But I mean, prime for prime, Jermaine Durandamy is the better striker here, and this is a fight that should play out on the feet. For me, it's dog or pass. Honestly, for me, it's dog or pass. What do you think?
I know you said Norma throws more volume, but this is her last 5 fights: 47, 35, 52, 38, 65, and 65 in a 5-rounder. That's not that great volume. That's just around the same amount of volume as Joanna Randemie. What's winning her this fight is these takedowns. And I mean, if she's smart enough to use the takedowns, I think she can win here. I just don't know if she is smart enough to use the takedowns. You're talking about Jermaine Randemie has fought 3 former champions, right? I mean, Julia Pena, Nunez. I think it was
She beat Holly Holm, didn't she? I believe her.
I
Or
can't
no,
remember.
maybe
It was at least
maybe I'm wrong.
3 former champions elite. Pena, Nunez, Raquel Pennington, and she beat Holly Holm by unanimous decision as well. Yeah. And she beat Larissa Pacheco by KO. That's a nice feather in your cap as well. So, I mean, I don't know. The resume is better on Durandamy's side by far. The layoff scares the shit out of me, but like pound for pound, she's the better girl here.
What I'm
I'm
saying.
yeah. Listen, the tipping factor on the scale is if Norma Dumont is going to use wrestling, and I can't be sure. So like, since I'm not so sure that she pushes it all the time because she don't, I'm gonna stab the dog as well because like at least I can be sure that during the randomie is gonna strike and she's gonna strike with power, right? But I feel like Norma, when she feels that power, she's gonna go to plan B because I don't think she can keep up on the feet. So
Fair enough.
I'm gonna pick the dog, but like Norma can win.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, 100%. Women's MMA here, man. Don't go big. All right, moving on. This should be a pretty confident pick for everyone, I believe. But we got the minus 334 favorite, Alex Morono. Very well-rounded fighter, pretty good striker, pretty good grappler. Yeah, versus the plus 250 underdog Court McGee, best known for winning the Ultimate Fighter way back in the day, training with like the Chuck Liddell. He's old school. He's been around forever. The thing with Court McGee is he has one path to victory, and that is grinding and laying on you for 3 rounds. Is it possible he can do that? Sure. Alex Morono's not like a wrestler by any means. I think he's the better submission grappler, and I think he's the better striker, but he's potentially not the better wrestler, maybe. So I guess that's Court McGee's path. But Court McGee's kind of chinny now. He was always known for that durability, and he's taken some couple knockout losses here, which don't look good for him. He's old as hell. He has no striking power. Like, I'm not a huge Alex Morono fan. If you have a lot of power, I'll probably bet on you to beat Alex Morono, but there's no threat here. There's no finishing threat for Alex to get caught. So because Alex can't get caught, I think he's going to probably catch Court McGee at some point, I think. So I'm on Alex Morono. Minus 334 sucks. What do you think?
Yeah, minus 334 sucks, but I don't see how like this one here is a little bit different than about me saying I don't see how he loses this. Courts looks like he's lost a step for real, for real. And I mean the striking is it's on two different levels. I mean, you got the rudimentary striking of Court McGee versus the more powerful volume coming from the Morono side. I mean, Court's gonna do his thing. He's gonna try to push him up on the side of the cage and stall him there and control. And it's up to Morono to get off that cage, right? You know what I mean? Morono also boasts the better resume, but he has been losing to like the Ponzinibbio's and the Buckleys. But Buckley by decision was weird. That was a weird fight. But yeah, I mean, I think he's got the better striking, he's got the better volume. I think they got adequate ground games. I don't think the ground game comes into play here. Morono shouldn't get taken down because Court doesn't have great entries now. I don't think he really did. He used mostly muscled you up against the side of the fence or the wall and then kind of like tripped you down to the ground and just manned you on the ground. So I don't think he's gonna man Morono. And like you said, I don't think he's gonna chin Morono. So that's the thing, right? Morono gets chinned. He probably would have won that Ponzinibbio fight if he didn't get chinned. And I think he was a little scared of getting hit by Buckley in that last fight, and he didn't engage enough. So yeah, I'm gonna go Morono, but I'm not going big on this card. But it's one of my more confident picks.
Yep. Moving on, this is going to be one of the funnest fights of the night. We got minus 200 favorite Charlie Campbell. He is a power punching striker versus the plus 170 fan favorite Trevor Peek, who is also a wild ass striker, very durable, throws with crazy power. His first fight in the UFC was one of the most exciting fights ever. Sloppy as hell, not technical, but he actually threw standing fucking hammer fists. It was pretty funny to watch. Very entertaining, and Charlie Campbell's the favorite, rightfully so. Trevor Peek showed after that first performance that hey, the train's run its course or whatever. Like he's not going to be a technical guy. He's not going to go very far. He does have a spot in the UFC just off the entertainment factor alone. And it's funny because he actually has a chance here strictly because he's fighting someone who's probably going to oblige in that firefight. So, like, he's not going to get taken down and grapple fucked like Mariscal kind of did to him. This will be a stand-up fight. And if he's the more durable guy and he hits hard as hell, he has a chance here. I'm still going to pick Charlie Campbell just because Trevor Peek is just so wild. But Peek 100% does have a chance to knock him out in a firefight. What do you think?
Peek has a chance to knock him out, but Peek's not. He's not a good fighter by any means. There's no technicality behind him. He's got one hell of a chin. I'll say that much. Charlie Campbell is the more technical guy here. He's probably, okay. So his last few fights, he's finished in the first round. I looked a little bit farther back. Didn't get a lot of footage. I got a little bit of highlights in his like first few fights, and he has gone the distance a couple times. So. It's not like this guy will death gas or maybe he gets a tiny bit tired, but we're not looking at like a death gasser here. So I mean, he's got to know, right? If he paces himself and he uses his reach and he uses his distance, he is the far better technical striker here. And maybe he needs to fight it like it's going to be a decision instead of obliging Trevor Peek with this bullshit, right? So if he minds his P's and Q's, there should be no reason that he beats Trevor Peek. That's the way I look at it, but you never know.
You're 100% right, but I don't think Trevor Peak will allow it to be a point fight. Like he will just throw himself in the fucking fire.
Yeah. It's how we don't know how Campbell's gonna react, right? There's a lot of unknowns in all these fights, right? If he reacts properly, maybe he does have a hidden ground game that we don't know about, right? Like I haven't seen much of it, but I I'm not even gonna say that he's gonna take him down. I'm saying we don't know. We've seen I think we've seen what we've seen of Trevor Peak. And this is the best version of Trevor Peak that we're probably gonna get. We
Yep.
haven't seen the best version of Charlie Campbell. That's all.
Yep, absolutely. All right, moving on. We got a highly interesting fight here. We got Johnny Walker's brother, Walter Walker, 11-0, is a bigger heavyweight brother. Extreme power, likes to knock out a ton of guys, and he's fighting a fellow striker, Lucas Brzeski, who's a plus 250 underdog. So Walker, huge favorite, rightfully so. I mean, big power. Lucas has been knocked out before. I think the whole world's probably on the Walker side, myself included. Looking forward to it. I don't think there's going to be too much more to say other than it's going to play out on the feet and somebody's going to go down. And when you have one guy who hasn't gone down yet and one guy who has, I'm going to say Walker knocks him out. I think they're almost setting him up for this fight to give him a big knockout so they can push him. What do you think?
I think it's a setup fight for him. His strengths are Brzeski's weaknesses, right? So I believe Brzeski fought Carl Williams, and Carl actually tired and gassed in that fight, but was still able to get those takedowns in the later part of that fight. Mind you, Keller is a good wrestler. From what I've seen of Walter, he's not a bad wrestler himself. It's with those Walker boys. It's always about the IQ and the fight IQ and the stupidity and the dumbness that they do. He seems that he's got his head on a swivel, and doesn't seem as crazy as Johnny. That's from what I see. But like, who's as crazy as Johnny Walker is, right? So, I mean, Breskin's been taken down 8 times in that fight against a power wrestler, so he's up against another power wrestler. So I think the takedowns will be there. He also got knocked out by Waldo Cortez, who's also not known for like first round knockouts, more of like an accumulation of volume will get you at Waldo Cortez. So is he chinny? I don't know if Bresky's chinny. I mean, but he didn't show a good chin against Walter Cortez, and I'm against Walter Walker, who has probably a lot more power than Cortez, I think. Maybe not as good of a technical striker as Waldo Cortez, but at least I think a more powerful striker as Waldo Cortez, right? So those things are working against Brzeski. I know this one's a tough one, minus 334 and a newcomer, but this one's the styles makes fights, strengths versus weaknesses sort of breakdown for me. Walter's strengths are Brzeski's weaknesses, and I'm gonna go with Walter in this fight, probably by KO via ground and pound, but I'm not gonna rule a submission out of the realm of what could happen too.
All right. Moving on, we got a fairly on paper, like skills wise, fairly even match. We got Ignacio Bahamondes, who's known as the lengthy striker, who also has pretty good submissions as well. He's coming in at a nasty minus 350 favorite, which I hate, against Christos Giagos, who's kind of a wrestle grinder. He can still strike pretty decently. He's not a bad striker by any means at all. He's going to be at a big length disadvantage here. If these odds were close, I'm on the Bahamondes side. I like him too. It just seems like he gets more love than I think maybe he deserves. Like everybody loves this guy. I liked him too, but I don't think he's a minus 350 favorite here. I really don't. Do I think he wins the fight? Yes, I do think he wins the fight. Probably. I like all the overs. Like I don't think he's gonna knock him out quickly or tap him out quickly. Um, I hate these odds. I absolutely hate the odds. I do pick Bahamondes to win just because he's gonna have such a reach advantage, and I think that he will be. I think he'll be fine probably anywhere it goes, but I don't know, man. I could see it being close, and I just don't like these odds. What do you think?
Paul Mendes was before this last fight with Ludwig Klein. He was known as a good distance striker with great takedown defense. and able to throw volume up in 3 rounds, 100 over 100 strikes 3 times, almost 3 times in a row. And he was known to keep his distance, keep the fight standing, and win fights like that. Even the guillotine and stuff like that, he could snatch it up. And then in his last fight, he got taken down 3 times by Ludovic Klein and outstruck madly, right? And so is that a knock on Bahamondes, or is Klein actually getting rounding into shape? Because it kind of looks like he's rounding into shape. And Ludovic Klein's a good fighter. So I don't know how much you could read into that. Now, the Giago side, you'll say he lost 3 out of 4, but they were against what? Armin Sarukian, Daniel Zellhuber,
Thiago Moises.
Thiago Moises, and he beat Ricky Glenn, right? So, like, those 4 names are a lot better than anything that Bahamondes has ever faced. So he was up against killers. Bahamondes, they were working him up. So, I mean, 330, I'm passing this fight. I think Bahamondes can keep this at distance. But like, I'm not gonna be surprised. I mean, I might sprinkle Christos Giagos by submission, right? Because like, what's his path to victory is to get this on the ground and do something with it, right? Before he gasses out, because Giagos is known to gas out in that latter half of that, after that 7.5 minute mark, he the gas tank kind of goes on him. So he's got about 7.5 minutes to pull this off, and I don't think he's gonna knock him out standing because I don't think he's gonna get close enough to him. So. That's a pass, but if I was going to play this, I would actually play Giagos by submission.
All right. Moving on to the featured fight, we got the -138 French striker Morgan Charriere versus Chepe Mariscal, who's kind of actually entered as a wrestler. He has tons of submission background as well, and he's a good striker as well. Honestly, I don't even know what you would describe this guy as. I would describe him as a tough fucking Mexican or whatever, durable as hell and very, very well rounded. And I could see him playing spoiler here. I really could. Listen, Charriere might be the more credentialed or more dangerous puncher or whatever, but when he doesn't get Mariscal out of there, it could get dicey. He might gas, he might get discouraged. Mariscal might grind, turn it into a different kind of matchup and take over. Like until I see something crazy from this French striker here, I'm very tempted to play Mariscal, honestly. What about you?
I'm very tempted to play Mariscal because I was looking at some of his past fights there, Charriere, man. And like, aside from when he gets the TKOs like he did in his last fight, and the fights before the last 3 fights, he got TKO. Like he's going to decision, and a lot of those are split decisions, right? What does that mean? That means that, and like, even the ones he's winning before was split. So if he's not finishing, there's only one majority decision out of his decisions, and that's the one he lost. And all the ones he won or even lost, they're all splits. In my eyes, that means that he's letting this fight get closer than it should be. So he's finishing these fights. Great striker, actually. I think he's better than people give. But the problem is what happens when you're a great striker and you don't finish these fights, and you got a dog on the other side. Like Chepe, what like you said, what's the best way of saying that? Chepe's a dog. Chepe's game, right? So like that's what he is, man.
I apologize. Is he not even Mexican? I thought he was Mexican.
I don't know. The I
Whatever.
never
Sorry,
liked the
whatever.
dog, but I like he sounds like. But anyways, the guy's got one hell of a chin. I've seen it before. I've seen him able to go like long into fights. I've seen him take it. I've seen him take guys down. Like I think he could take down Charriere for sure. And I also think so. I don't think that Charriere is going to be able to finish Chepe. And when you can't finish him, when you're a finisher and you can't finish the other guy, what is going to happen? And all the decisions that this guy's ever been to, the majority of them are split. And the only one I saw that he lost was a majority. Like the only majority decision that he was ever in was the one he lost. So these fights get chippy when they get this low. And you got Charriere versus a chippy guy. So I think Mariscal can make this dirty, can make this grindy, can make this just nasty. And that's how he's gonna win this. If Mariscal wants to stay into a range striking battle, then he's probably gonna lose. But yeah, I don't think he does because I haven't seen him do that. I see him just get dirty, get in there, right? That's what he does, right?
Buddy, he's been the underdog in every fight in the UFC, and he's won them all. So he's going for the hat trick here.
I hit him like 2 out of the 3 times too. The one time I didn't hit him, I think it was his first fight, and I wasn't too sure who he was, right? And then and I was like killing myself afterwards, right? It's like, oh man, I should have hit him.
Yeah, I'm playing the dog here.
Yeah, I probably will too.
All right, guys, moving on to the co-main event. We got the minus 200 favorite, Alex Hernandez, who's kind of known as a very strong athlete, hits hard as hell, and he's also known for gassing and durability issues. And he's going against the plus 170 underdog, Damon Jackson, who's a very opportunistic submission, likes to snatch your neck, snatch whatever he can snatch. But he's kind of fragile. He's been chinned a few times. Listen, I never like betting Alex Hernandez. I don't like betting on gassers. I don't like betting on guys who've shown durability issues, but I think he should chin Damon Jackson. He shouldn't be too strong. He should be too quick early, and this fight shouldn't go long enough that he's gonna gas and get choked out. Because if it does hit that third round, I'll be petrified because Alex will fade big time. He will fade. But I'm gonna say that he does knock him out. Maybe I'm crazy, but I'm gonna take him by knockout here. What do you think?
I don't think you're crazy. I think he is the better fighter. He's the better wrestler. He probably has the better striking. I don't know the jiu-jitsu. I don't know. Like Damon Jackson's opportunistic jiu-jitsu guy, like you said. So I'm not counting the jits in this. I don't think it actually should get to the jits. That would mean that Damon Jackson either has to take down Hernandez, which I think is not possible. I think Hernandez is more likely to take down Damon Jackson, but I think that's a stupid move, to be honest with you. The only problem with Hernandez is which version of Hernandez shows up this night. Like the guys that beat Benny Dariush and the guys that wins against Jim Miller, that guy looks good. That guy looks like a prospect. That guy looks like he's supposed to be. Then he doesn't show up the next fight. So that's my only issue. He minus 200 is actually pretty fair. I think he's the better fighter overall. Um, it's a gamble though, but I think he's the better by quite a bit. Damon Jackson's just a journeyman in my eyes. The opportunistic journeyman at best. Hernandez is, I don't know if he's a broken prospect yet, but he's still a prospect and he still has skills and he shows that, he can be there. But I just don't know if his head's always in the game. That's the only problem. It's like what version? That's all. But Hernandez
I just
by
think
far.
he's just so much stronger here, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's the more well-rounded with the better skills kind of guy. I'm scared of which version shows up. That's all.
All right, and that takes us to our main event, the rematch. We got Brendan Allen. He's on an absolute heater of a run. He's won himself into title contention, really. He's a couple fights away from probably a number one contenders match. He's coming in at minus 200. He's going to be the volume striker. He's going to be the guy coming forward. He's going to be the much longer, rangier fighter. And he's the better submission grappler, not necessarily wrestler, but better submissions. And he's going against Chris Curtis, who's coming back at plus 170. He is a power punching, very durable, very hard to take down fighter, but also very low volume. Now, Chris Curtis won the first fight. A lot of people, I've seen it on the net, they still think he can do it the second time. I think he can do it, but I don't think he will do it. So I think Chris Curtis, to win this fight, he has to win by knockout again. And I don't think he's going to knock out Brendan Allen. I think he's going to get outpointed. If not, I don't want to say he's going to get finished because he is very durable, but he's going to get outworked. I think Brendan Allen's just too long, too fast, too much output. I don't think he's as good as Imavov, so I don't think he's going to put on a destruction of him the way Imavov did before that fight got called off. But I think same kind of thing. A lot of kicks, a lot of punches, a lot of volume, a lot of pressure, and I don't think he'll get knocked out. I think he's more mature now. I think when he was a kid, he got dropped a lot, and he didn't maybe know how to react to getting hit. I think the confidence is there, everything's there. He's improved big time. I don't think he's going to get knocked out. So I got Brendan Allen and all the overs that come with it. What do you think?
I like Chris Curtis. I like him
A lot of people do.
But I think it's a matter of who's Brendan Allen beating and who's Chris Curtis fighting, man. Chris Curtis is up against Hermanson, a way better striker than Brendan Allen. I don't care what anyone says. Buckley, Kelvin Gastelum, Nasruddin Imavov, and Marc-Andre Barrios. And Brendan Allen, yeah, he's worked his way into title contention, but he beat Paul Craig, Bruno Silva, Andre Muniz, Christoph Jotko. I think he lost against Jacob Malkoun and Sam Alvey. What would Chris Curtis do to those fucking guys? What would he do to those guys, man? Probably put on a destruction. Now, in that first fight, it was 61-40 something. That was how Chris Curtis outstruck Brendan Allen. And Brendan Allen in all these in this run, I don't think he's ever won over 50 significant strikes. Mind you, he's finishing fights in the second round, first round by submission, right? I think that's fucking off the table. He's not going to submit Chris Curtis. That's off the table, right? So what's he going to do? he's gonna have to enter the pocket. Is he as good as Jack Hermanson to dance around the outside? Is he as good as Imavov to do that same shit to Chris Curtis that he was doing before the unfortunate incident? But I don't think he's that good. Not as a striker, because this is going to be a kickboxing match.
I know. I don't think Chris Curtis is that fucking good though. I think he's so low fucking volume, and unless he finds the knockout shot, he's losing every single fight. I don't see that guy win any rounds. I never see him win a round. Seriously, even when he wins, he's always losing. I just don't. He never wins the minutes.
That Kelvin Gastelum fight was closer than that. After that headbutt,
That was a close fight. That was a
that
close
was a
fight for
way
sure.
close fight, right? So, I mean, Imavov is way above both of these guys, so I wouldn't even
Oh
think
yeah.
that, right? Hermanson fight, yeah, Hermanson had a good game plan. It was the Ian Machado over Jeff Neal game plan. That's what the game plan was. Can you see Brendan Allen pulling that game plan off? I just don't. I don't think he's good enough to pull off that strike from range game plan. Because the same stupid ass game plan he tried to pull off the last time against Chris Curtis. He just hunted him down. Brendan Allen is good when he can get that grappling involved. I just don't see the now. Plan B, Brendan Allen. I feel like his schedule has been a little bit of a cakewalk as compared to fucking Chris Curtis' schedule. And
No,
giving
you're
people
not wrong.
and
You think he's gonna get knocked out then?
I don't think Chris Curtis's only path is to knock him out, because if he didn't get knocked out in that second fight, Chris Curtis was going to put the volume on him. Eventually he's going to, I guess, have to get knocked out, because he's not going to just stand there and just get punched in the face, right? So, but I still think I like Chris Curtis in this spot. I'm probably going to bet Chris Curtis in this spot. I won't put a prop on this, but I mean, the man's good and he doesn't get enough recognition. And I think Brendan Allen is. I was looking into those wins, man. Aside from, I like the Muniz win, but
That
like
was a big.
yeah, he should handle Craig easily. Like, and Bruno Silva, oh my God, what a joke. Right? So, like, what a joke. But what, like, I just look at, like, what would Chris Curtis do to those guys? Bruno Silva was.
Nothing, because he doesn't punch. I find he doesn't fucking do anything. Like if Chris Curtis would let his hands fly, I'd be a much bigger fan. I know he hits hard. I know he can knock everybody out, but he doesn't fucking punch, man. I find him so frustrating.
I don't know, man. He threw 140 against Marc Andre. He threw 70 against Gastelum, 36 against Buckley, but he got KO'd. That was Buckley, right? And he was probably and then 43 against Hermanson, and then 109 against Rodolfo. So I guess it's like, what version of Chris Curtis shows up, right? If the version that's throwing 140 against Mark Barrios shows up, Brandon Allen has no fucking chance if 140 strikes are coming at him. I don't give a shit, right? But again, this card is full of guys like, which side is going to show up? The A side or the B side, right? There's two sides to Chris Curtis. If A side shows up, he can't beat. I don't know. Odds dictate. I think minus 200 is way too much, and yeah, I'm just gonna go Curtis on this one.
I mean, you're not wrong when you go. How did the guy who just fucking get KO'd by him a couple years ago turn into a minus 200 favorite?
Mm-hmm.
It is wild, but I'm going with the minute winner here. You're going with the moment winner, and hey, may the best man win.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys, there you have it. Those are our predictions. Like we said, not the greatest card. I wouldn't go insane with your bets here. Save them for next weekend, UFC 300. We are gonna fucking ball out and drop all kinds of big bets. We'll do 2 episodes next week for sure, if not fucking 3, because I'm gonna show my tickets. We're gonna fucking go nuts here. Yeah. So look out for us Sunday. We'll be on schedule. We'll drop it early.
Yep.
Good luck this weekend, and we'll see you for the next one.